Hey you guys, welcome to my channel Nursing with Key, where I make a whole bunch of nursing related videos sharing tips and tricks that I've learned along my nursing journey to help you guys have the smoothest. In today's video I'm going to be talking about a question that I get a lot. A lot of people have seen my my videos. A lot of you guys know that I am a CNA, and I recently got a job at a hospital where I've been working, and a lot of people find it very difficult to find a hospital job and want to know what the process was like, how I got the job, and all of that. So that is what I'm going to be talking about. So as for let's start with the application process. So I applied just like we all do. I went on the hospital's website and I applied for the job. I freshened up my resume before sending it in. So all my jobs from like my teenage years that I did when I was 15, 16, you know, all the fast food and the cashing, all of that, I kind of took it off of my resume because I worked in quite a few places. I know that that's not the case for everyone, but I'm just saying what I did. So I took all of that off and I kept, like, you know, my call center jobs. I actually worked at a pharmacy for a year, so I kept that because, you know, it's kind of related to the hospital. And I put all the clinical rotations that I did because that is also working experience. So that was the first thing that I did. I made sure that my cover page was popping, and I really think that I actually updated my cover page, I think about 2 years ago, and every time I apply for a job I get a call back right away, and I really believe it's because I put in a lot of work in my cover page and I made sure that it's perfect, that, you know, it's short and sweet, but I say everything I have to say and it just sounds good and it's just perfect. So make sure that your cover page is updated, that your resume is updated. You know, try to keep all your McDonald's job experience and your Wendy's job experience, all of those little things that we did when we were teenagers or when we first started working. I don't feel like you need to have that on your resume if you're applying for a CNA job. We're moving on to bigger, better things. No offense to those who work in fast food and whatever. I'm not saying that those jobs are bad, but I'm just saying that they're not related at all to the hospital, so I don't feel like you need to have it. If you worked in multiple fast food restaurants and you want to leave one on, that's fine, but I don't think you need to have 4 different fast food restaurants on your resume. And the more clustered, the more full your resume is, they say, the worse it is. You know, you don't want to have 30 jobs on your resume, so try to shorten it, maybe 4 or 5 jobs, and keep it short and keep it. Once I applied for the job, I actually got a call back 2 days later. I got a call back. She kind of gave me a phone interview at first, so she was just asking me, you know, a bit about my experience and why I was looking for a job and why I wanted to leave the residence that I was at and all of that on the phone. And then she booked an appointment for our first interview. Now, my first interview was with a nurse. She's an RN, and because she knew I was a nursing student, she asked me if once I graduate from nursing school, if I would want to switch my license over from CNA to nurse, and if I would want to work in a nurse in the facility. And of course I said yes. So a lot of the questions that she asked me at the interview were not really CNA questions. She gave me a lot of case scenarios. She asked me a lot of questions about popular disorders that you see. She asked me, you know, what's the difference between type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, gestational diabetes. She asked me how I would do my head-to-toe assessment. If someone has pneumonia, what are the main things you would look for? Things like that. A lot of nursing questions she asked me, and she was noting down every single answer that I had. Don't get me wrong, there were a little bit of things that I forgot, but she gave me clues and it refreshed my memory, and then I remembered. And I think she understood that I am still a nursing student. I'm not yet a nurse, so I can't know everything, and she knows that a lot of the things that we learn come with experience and seeing it in the hospital, and she knows that she knew that I didn't really have much of that then, so she was very understanding. But for the most part, I really do think I did pretty well on the interview, but that was pretty much it. Then she asked me a couple of you know, just general questions, like you know, if one patient has a BM, a nurse asks you to bring a blood sample to the lab stat, and somebody is vomiting, which patient would you attend to first? So a lot of priority questions, and, you know, questions about time management. How would you manage your time, and what would you handle first, and why, things like that. I did the phone interview. I did the first interview. I actually had a second kind of interview to do where I had to go and I had to fill out forms so that they could do a background check, things like that. I had to bring in my vaccination booklet so that they can see if I have all the vaccinations that employees are required to have. By then I kind of knew I had the job. Because they wouldn't make me come in for vaccinations if I didn't have the job. So by then I kind of knew I had the job. So I went there, and this was at the headquarters. I went there. Luckily I had all the shots, so I didn't have to get shots. But I got my N95 mask fitting test. So they kind of put a mask on your face. They put this kind of bag over your head, and they spray this thing in your face. And if you can taste it in the back of your mouth, it's not the right fit. So they did the testing. What else did they do? They did the background check, and that was pretty much it for the second interview, which was actually, I think it was maybe a week after the first interview, because they didn't have space for me, so I had to wait a couple of days, almost a week. I think it was about 5 days. Lastly, I had an interview at the actual branch that I was supposed to work at, because I work for a university, a research university, that owns a bunch of that owns a bunch of hospitals across my province or across my city. But the third interview was at the actual branch, at the actual hospital that I was going to work at, with the coordinator and one of the head nurses. And it was not really an interview at that point. I pretty much had the job, but they just wanted to kind of get to know me. They asked me similar questions to the first interview, where they just wanted to know why I left my last residence, why I wanted to work in a hospital. And I kind of just told them, I want to be the best nurse that I could be when I graduate. And although I do feel like I did get good nursing experience in long-term care, I wasn't being exposed to too many things. It's very repetitive, and I knew that I was going to have much more opportunities to work in different areas and see different things. Like, you work in emergency, you can work in med-surg, you can work in because my hospital has a long-term care facility connected to it that the hospital owns. So I work in long-term care, I work in RESP, I work in med-surg, I work in emergency, I work in palliative, I've worked in the ICU as a CNA, and I'm working around nurses in every single area. So I'm learning a lot, and because these nurses know that I'm a nursing student, they're allowing me to do a lot more little things. They're taking me under their wings, they're giving me tips and stuff. So it's a much better learning environment for me, as opposed to where I was working before, where nurses were pretty much only there in the morning, and it was 2 of them for the entire facility, and it was pretty much just CNAs, and it was routine. Everything was the same thing at the same time. I wasn't really learning much there. So just questions like that, questions about my availabilities and when I'm able to work. And then they asked me to come in for training the following day. So overall, I would say the process took about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, for me to do the phone interview, the first interview, second and third interview. And I had 2 orientation days, just like showing us the computer system and how they pay us, and our union, and the benefits that we get, stuff like that. And then the second orientation day was at the hospital, and that was kind of just showing us around, showing us where things are and what we'd be doing, and things like that. And then I was scheduled for my first actual training day, where I was working as a CNA. So yeah, overall 2 weeks. I was blessed because I did not have much experience as a CNA. I had worked at the residence that I was working at prior to the job that I have now for about maybe 3 or 4 months. So I had like 4 months of experience when I applied for the job, and I still got it. I know that it's hard, especially because I know a lot of facilities want you to have, a lot of hospitals want you to have like 2, 3, 4 years of experience, and a lot of people are getting discouraged. Honestly, I think it was just a blessing. It was just my time, I guess. But that's pretty much how I did it, and I really pray that you guys have the same opportunity, that you guys get the same blessing, and then you guys get the opportunity to work in a hospital, because it really is a good experience. But honestly, just keep trying, keep applying, keep going, ask to speak to someone, ask to speak to a coordinator, keep pushing, and with time, you will get it. You will get the job that you want. I really wish all of you guys the best. Anyways, that's my story. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.